At Truliant, we're with you at every milestone, making it easier for you to shine. So you can saddle up each morning for more than a paycheck. Have the support to expand your horizon, the space to grow your family, and your brightest dreams never have to fade. At Truliant, we help you shine. That's brighter banking. Truliant Federal Credit Union.
Welcome to the Greater Conversations podcast. I'm Deetra Miller, the Director of Member Relations and Engagement at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. We'll use this platform to showcase our local businesses, our community, and their stories. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am super excited to have in the studio with us today Martha Larson. Martha is the director for the Forsyth Tech Small Business Center located here in Winston-Salem. Martha, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Of course. And it's exciting for me because I've known you for such a long time. And I know the passion that you have for small businesses. I know the passion you have to create programs and events based around that, to bring people together, to help empower them and educate them. So to be able to talk to you today about this even more and your transition from where I used to know you to where you are now, that's going to be great. Plus, I found out some really cool things about you. So for everyone listening, let me tell you just a little bit about Martha. Martha. I'm from Washington.
You're cut off.
But anyway, a little bit about Martha. She has been in business development for over 20 years, has a degree in business and a JD, which I thought was super fascinating. So I had to find out more. And come to find out, that JD that she has, it is in banking, corporate finance, and securities law. Really? Law. I had no idea. And it's from the University of Alabama, Crimson Tide.
It is.
That's pretty cool. But those aren't the only credits she has to her name, so I'll let her talk a little bit more about that. But again, she's with the Small Business Center, and they support small businesses by providing business education, one-on-one counseling, referring owners to key organizations in the area. And the Small Business Center serves Forsyth and Stokes counties. And they partner with a lot of organizations in the area, subject specialists especially, who help them serve a diverse population of clients free of charge. That's pretty great. So let's just start a little bit with talking about how you came from the University of Alabama to North Carolina and your journey in business. What sparked that interest for you?
Sure. So, yes, I'm from Alabama, and I went to all of my schooling, and my dad was a professor at the university. And so till he finally said, okay, it's time to stop your education and let's go out and find a job. So my first job was at the Wake Forest Law Library. When I got my JD, I did a short stint in family law and did not like that at all. And it turned me kind of against the law. So I decided to get a library and information sciences degree. So I was at Wake Forest, and I taught legal research and writing and was in their library as a researcher for the law students and faculty. So I did that for a while, and then I went to a law firm, a sweet former North Carolina law firm that we all used to know and love called Petrie Stockton, before it changed into the big firm that it is now. And at Petrie Stockton is kind of when I started my business development. It was an accident, but oftentimes I was asked to research clients, research client competitors, and things like that. So that's where my kind of interest of using my business degree in business development kind of sparked. And then I had a baby, and I went out with him for a year. And I did teach at Forsyth Tech as an adjunct for a while I was out. But someone that I knew, I wanted to change things up. So the Greensboro Public Library was the front of their point of contact in the city of Greensboro for business and nonprofit. So I became the business and nonprofit specialist. And I did programming, I did meet with people, and Greensboro has this great small business consortium that I've talked to you about and stuff like that.
Yes.
And that really helped me a lot. And an individual that was in that became a dean at the Davidson Davie Community College. And he said, please come apply for their Small Business Center Director position. And that was about 11 years ago. So I've been
Wow.
doing this ever since.
That is amazing. I had no idea how in-depth your journey was and still is. So let's talk about what you're doing now at the Small Business Center at Forsyth Tech. Personally, I know about how awesome your mentorship and counseling programs are. I know how awesome it is for us, when I say us, at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., to be able to be in the same space, because we're co-located together now, and to be able to say to a small business owner, oh, you need some help with an application, you need some guidance, and just walk them over to you or to Carolyn or someone else on your team. So talk a little bit about the services you guys provide.
Sure. So I'd like to back up a little bit and talk about the fact that North Carolina is the only state that funds small business centers that are
Wow.
housed at community colleges. The Department of Commerce is where we get our funding. We're housed at the community college, and that's how the community college supports that, the whole system. We are a statewide network, so we can utilize director specialists all over the state. So some may be attorneys, some may be accountants, some may be former bankers and things like that. So it's a really close and awesome network of specialists. So each individual center, if you will, serves a geographical location. And as you said, I serve Forsyth and Stokes. So I get a feel for the urban, metropolitan kind of service area as well as more rural service area. And we have different resources for both, and we can also utilize some of our resources that we have that may be relevant. So in 2020, during COVID, the small business centers were given an extra fund to actually pay guest counselors. So we have a lovely group of mentors that volunteer their time to a certain extent. We don't want to ask a lawyer to do work for free. So they give advice for free as a mentor, and then we can actually pay for specialized services. So if a client, they have to be a client of the Small Business Center, if a client needs a lease reviewed, or like we have a client who needs a contract developed and things like that, we have attorneys that can do that. If they need training on QuickBooks, we have people that can do that. So what the Small Business Center function is to not only start businesses, but help businesses to be sustainable so they can maintain those jobs and even grow to add jobs. So these tools that we can help business owners with can help them be sustainable. We want businesses to learn how to work on their business rather than in their business. And that's a lot of development that takes place. It's a lot of cash flow that's needed to outsource certain things so that they can step back and delegate tasks and things like that. But that's the goal, is for a business owner to not be in the daily grind, if at all possible, but to be able to strategically plan and to look at the future and that kind of thing.
I love that. I love that. You mentioned clients. How does a business become a client of the Small Business Center?
Sure. So we have a website, forsythtech.edu/SBC, and on that you have 3 options. You can register for counseling, and that's how you become a client. And that's because we need to keep up with information. There's a lot going on. We have a lot of people in this area especially that are interested in support. So we register and find out some information about the business owner and the business. And then we put what we call records in there so we can keep up with what we're doing with that client. We have a team of 3 Nell Perry is our coordinator. Carolyn Bennett Sullivan is our small business specialist, and then myself. So that allows each of us to take a look at somebody if we get an inquiry or if we're helping somebody to look at it and say, okay, this is what we did last time. And to register, it takes a little time because we want as much information as we can. The state wants a little bit of information too, so that they add their piece of the pie. But that's basically how that goes, is they get on our website and register through an online form.
Well, that sounds pretty easy. Are there any charges associated with this? I thought I read free of charge on the website, but talk about that a little bit.
So our services per se are free of charge. Because we're funded by the state, we can't pay for like food. And so sometimes we'll work with partners and we'll have events that are all-day events, and we need to have lunch. And that organization may charge for food, but we will not charge an exorbitant price for events. But our services, our counseling, our mentorship, and all that is free of charge.
Let's go back to sustainability for a minute, because there are so many folks out here that have great ideas and they'll start a business. And as you mentioned, they're in the day-to-day instead of, okay, maybe I can work in the business for X number of days or X number of hours, and then I need to work on the business. Talk a little bit about how you help them understand that concept.
Sure. And right now, we have to say it's particularly difficult because of the staffing shortage. And I know that after COVID, business owners could not imagine another pandemic, but we're now having a pandemic of lack of staff. So now some business owners are having to get down in the dirty daily, business grind. But the goal is for a business to bring in cash flow, right? A lot of business owners don't get paid for a year or 2, 3 because they're having to pour a lot of money into the startup process. But when we can get a business owner making a profit, making revenue, so that they can outsource, so that they can, step back a little bit, that's great. And it's all about revenue. So my favorite term when I'm working with startups, especially, or businesses that are looking to growth, is multiple revenue streams. How do you pull customers in and engage customers and get customers to buy multiple ways? If you're a pressure washer and you typically don't do that in the winter, what else can you do? That kind of thing. So it's that kind of revenue generation and strategic planning that's so important. And also looking at the books. Yes, it looks real enticing to have a storefront, but is that storefront, really taking a lot of money out of your budget and things like that?
Good point. When you talk about money, a lot of entrepreneurs may have a little bit of reserve to get started. Does the Small Business Center at Forsyth Tech help them look at potential ways to access capital?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we just had the Black Business Summit on February the 1st to kick off the Black History Month. And that's what it's all about. There is a gap. There is a gap of capital with people of color. A lot of that's knowledge. A lot of that's not trusting the banking system and things like that. So we do work with people in developing that loan package and finding, alternative lenders that may be able to work with people that maybe don't have a huge amount of savings and things like that. Most lenders want to lend to a business that's been in business for at least 3 years. So that really hurts the startup process. So there are a few alternative lenders that help that early business in its planning and startup.
That's pretty awesome. talk about some of the programming that you offer. You mentioned the summit that just kicked off this month. Talk about some of the other programming that folks could kind of dip their toe into if they're not sure if they want to sign up for mentorship or counseling with a small business.
So we do have a startup series. We have a webinar that we have typically every quarter that's online, that it's an 8-week series. That will not be until later spring, probably summer. I am personally doing a series at the Downtown Public Library.
Nice.
And the first event that we're having is February 29th, I believe. And it's a checklist. It's a checklist of startups. So it's things to consider, people to know, like if you think you're going to have a location, the inspection, planning, and zoning are your best friends, and you really need to get to know them. So it's just a checklist of how to register your business, things to think about, and what you're going to need to look at. And so we do that, and we go all the way through the business planning process in the next one. So we do have a series of 3 early spring this year. March the 1st, we're going to have a women's business event. It's called Women on the Rise, and that's going to be on campus, and hopefully we will see information come out about that next week.
That's awesome. Is there anything else planned that you can tell us about that's coming up?
Sure. So we have a lot of lunch and learns types of things and things like that. There's some things that are in the works and not on our site yet.
Okay.
But the events are on the website, the forsythtech.edu/SBC, and there's a link for local events. And as we develop events and get them finalized, they get up there.
Excellent. I've been to some of those events, so I'm excited to attend some more this year and network with some people and learn some things myself. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know, Martha, in regard to, there's so many things that you guys touch on, but I just wonder, is there a favorite success story that you'd like to share?
Well, sure. So we have, Chef Faison, who's done very well, and people know her very well.
Yes.
We have people who have won our launch events and things like that, but a lot of those are in the past. So we now, I'm focusing on clients that I've worked with and know could utilize maybe some funds, and I have smaller grants, like up to $5,000.
Nice.
And we have... we have a cleaning business, and she's adding a van, means she's adding a team, and those are jobs that she's adding.
Yes.
With her funds and things like that. So we're really trying to make sure that any funding that we give directly is used well. So we have mentoring with it. It could go over their books. It could go over their strategic planning and things like that. So we have... a wellness person that does great. We have Alice Approved, who's, I don't know if everybody knows her now, but she's really getting out there.
Yes.
Who's doing great. So, yeah, we have a lot of people like that are really taking their mentorship seriously and really acting on the advice given and doing great things.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I feel like I've asked a lot of questions, but I'm curious to know, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to share with everyone listening about the Small Business Center?
Well, sure. So I just want to distinct. We have a lot of programming and things like that in our, especially Winston-Salem ecosystem. Winston-Salem is a hybrid, is a vibrant ecosystem, and there's a lot of alternatives for people to get advice and support. But the Small Business Center is set up for an ongoing relationship. Mm. So if someone's starting, we can help them. If someone is in business and finds themselves adding an employee and they don't know how to do that, and they can get advice from us. So we can really walk businesses through for years. So if a business starts up and they're satisfied, fine. We may not hear from them for a while, but it's okay to come back, and we have a lot of people come back and say, okay, I need some help here. So we're an ongoing entity that will be there so we can give support and mentorship all the way through the process.
That's amazing. You mentioned people of color earlier, and I'm just curious to know, with your excuse me, your team of 3, do you work with folks that maybe speak other languages, or how do you support those folks?
So I'm not a Spanish speaker, and we are developing a support for Spanish-speaking business owners. We're working with the Hispanic League. Rebecca Segrebe, who is one of our mentors, does our programming in Spanish. So we're really working with that, and then we have people who can help me translate counseling that way too. Wow. We also have several Spanish speakers in the Small Business Center network statewide, and I've engaged with them to help me counsel and do programming. We're working with the Hispanic League May 25th to have the Hispanic Latinx Business Summit.
Really? Talk about that.
Yeah. So right now, as it stands, we haven't quite developed it yet. We have a really interesting panel that we're going to bring in and let people talk. Everything's going to be in Spanish.
Really? Wow.
And we're going to have a panel, and then we're going to break out and have a startup track and an existing business track. So we're going to have Spanish-speaking professionals help with various things, marketing, access to capital, insurance, and things like that. And that will be at the Intergenerational Arts and Wellness Center. And if people haven't been there, that's an awesome facility. So that will be a really cool event.
That is so exciting. I don't speak Spanish. I'm trying to learn, though. So May might be a little soon for me, but I hear immersion is the best way to learn a language.
That's right.
So I may attend.
That's
just
right.
Because.
That's right. That's right.
That's fantastic. You guys do so many amazing things, and it's just great to know that no matter what level you are in your business, whether it's in the ideation stage or you've been in business for a few years, the Small Business Center is there to help you, an ongoing relationship, if it's strategic planning, if it's access to capital, programming, mentorship, all of it. You guys can handle it.
Well,
it's amazing.
We work real hard, and our mentors are great teammates for us because we really need that help in counseling. We get an average of 6 new request counseling a week, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you compound that with what we have as active clients, it can get really active and very, meaningful for us to get out there and try to keep up with that.
Wow. How many clients do you service each year?
We have active clients over 200. Active clients mean that they have gotten an initial meeting with us just to tell us about them, an introduction, and at least one more follow-up. So that's been about 200. Then we have people who register, fall off, and things like that. So it's kind of an ongoing, number.
Wow. I'm curious to know also, I'm curious about a lot of things today, but what businesses do you see come through more often than others?
Sure. So our big 3 is what I call them, are restaurants, retail, and beauty. But we do have a lot of people in trucking. We do have home health care is a popular one. But largely food-based businesses and things like that. So there's actually a great one coming up next week, I believe, and people can contact me if they want to know the details. It's a We Power Summit, and We Power is a group that works with women food-based businesses, primarily people in the pre-packaging. If you make a cinnamon roll and you package it and sell it to coffee houses, or if you make a sauce or something like that. But it's very relevant to caterers and others because there's so much knowledge in that group that does the We Power instruction about kitchens, about working with the health department, which everybody knows is a struggle, and things like that. So it's a really cool
And when
cool
is
thing.
that coming up?
It's next week, and I can't remember the exact date,
Okay.
but I can get that to you.
Okay.
But it's, those are the type of partnerships that I love to make because these are people who know it, who have done it. So, like, for example, one of the individuals who work with us on WePower, she is great on costing food-based businesses, and that's so important. The inventory costs, how much your menu is, and things like that. So she actually does a one-day business event for the Second Harvest Food Bank Providence Culinary Program. So the people that go through a cohort with Daryl will have a day of numbers. And I know that's not the sexy day, but it's the day between a startup and staying in business and not.
That's amazing. Wow. I could keep talking to you on and on about this. Thank you so much for everything that you and your team do for small businesses in this
Thank you
area.
guys, too. You guys are much of a value of our community.
Well, you know what? We work together well in this entrepreneurial ecosystem.
That's right.
So
That's right.
We're proud of that. We're proud of that. Martha, I do want to ask another personal question, though. What do you love the most about Winston-Salem?
I think I like the downtown vibe. I
Yeah.
like when we drive through at night to go to Aperture or a play or something like that, or even just to go out to eat. There's just a lot of people around, and I love the parks, our Innovation Quarter part and everything like that. So I really love the vibe of there's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do and a lot of ways to start and sustain a business.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Martha, thank you so much for being here with us today. And again, thank you for everything you do. To Martha's team, thank you guys too. Looking forward to connecting soon. And for everyone listening, until next time. We know you enjoyed this podcast today, so join us for the next episode of Greater Conversations. By the way, you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to visit our website at winstonsalem.com. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our sponsors, distributors, or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. or your toast.